Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be going over a brief lesson in U.S. history, and this lesson is part of my lesson plan that goes over the failed colonies of North America, which today we're going to be focusing on Roanoke. So today we're just going to be, going over a quick, brief PowerPoint, and then I will introduce to you an activity that will be done after that will really kind of get juices flowing and really get you thinking about what really could have happened. So now some introduction. So in 1583, Sir Humphrey Gilbert was exploring the North Atlantic coast off Newfoundland when he drowned. So due to that death, his half-brother, Sir Walter Raleigh, gained his charter rights. And on March 25th of the following year, 1584, Queen Elizabeth I granted a charter to Sir Walter Raleigh to explore the Atlantic coast. The caveat of that being that he had to establish a colony, and if he didn't, he would lose his charter rights. So on April 27th, 1584, Raleigh's initial expedition leaves England and explores the coast, and also to search possible locations for the colony. Now, the expedition lands on Roanoke Island on July 4th, and they quickly begin making relations with the natives, including the Sukotans and the Croatans. And the expedition, quote-unquote, team, I use the word team loosely, decided to bring back two Croatan men back to England to kind of describe the area, the geography, and politics to Sir Walter Raleigh, as they thought it would be a pretty good fit for the colony. So they returned to England and provide that information to Raleigh, and he does decide that it would be a good location to set up shop. So in 1585, on April 9th, Raleigh's second expedition to create the colony leaves Plymouth, England, with 5 ships. And these ships include the Tiger, the Roebuck, the Red Lion, Elizabeth, and the Dorothy. Now, the expedition is being led by Richard Grenville, who is aboard the Tiger. Before leaving England, the expedition team kind of set up a plan that if any ships were to be diverted by any reason off course, that all the ships would, come back together in Puerto Rico. So, off the coast of Portugal, during a big storm, the Tiger is actually diverted off course and away from the fleet. So Grenville sails to Puerto Rico like planned to meet up with the other ships, and he gets to Puerto Rico May 11th. Now, about a month goes by, and no other ships have arrived, so Grenville decides to sail to Roanoke, hoping that he will meet up with the other ships. So he gets to the Outer Banks, and he does meet up with 2 ships, the Roebuck and the Dorothy. He was told that the Red Lion was there, but a few weeks prior, the Red Lion just dropped off their passengers and then sailed north to Newfoundland for privateering. So those 3 ships sail to Roanoke Island, and they begin initial exploration of the island and the coast. And the settlers blamed and claimed that a local tribe stole a single silver cup from them. And in retaliation, they decided to sack and burn down the local village of, I'm going to say this wrong, I apologize, Aquascogic. Now, with that, obviously the native relations start kind of deteriorating a little bit. So you have that issue, and the Tiger actually had the food supply, so you have a food shortage. But Grenville decided to leave 108 men there to establish a colony with the promise that he would be back with relief ships in April 1586. So the 108 men were left to establish the colony. April 1586 came and went, and Grenville did not show up with his relief ships. So since the settlers burned down the local village, the native relations really started to deteriorate, and in June of 1586, the natives actually did attack Fort Roanoke. However, the settlers were able to defend and repel the native tribes. And shortly after that, fellow explorer Sir Francis Drake arrived, and he did offer passage to those who wanted it back to England. And although several settlers did take the offer, many stayed in Roanoke. Now, shortly thereafter, about a month or so, Grenville did arrive with his relief ships. Now, when he arrived, the colony was abandoned. So Grenville left 15 soldiers just to maintain an English presence and keep the claim of Raleigh's claim, excuse me, of the island. So in 1587, John White was supposed to be establishing a colony along the Chesapeake Bay. But he was also ordered to travel down to Roanoke to collect some supplies that were left by Grenville in the previous year. So White and the colonists arrive in Roanoke, but find the colony abandoned, and except for a single skeleton. So, because Because of this, those 115 colonists are actually forced to stay and reestablish Roanoke. The first thing White tried to do was to mend local relations, but he was able to do so with a couple tribes, but others were kind of like, not so much. So with issues with the natives and supply shortages, the colonists got White to return back to England for some help. So White did sail back to England. However, the Anglo-Spanish War was going on, and he was unable to leave England until 1590. So White returned to Roanoke August 1590, but found both colonists and the colony itself were gone, without a trace. The only clues that he found was the word Croatan in a fence post and the letters Thearo carved into a tree. Now, before White left in 1587, he did instruct the colonists that if anything were to happen and they had to leave for some reason, that they should carve a Maltese cross into a nearby tree. And since White, he didn't find the cross, he assumed that everything was okay, and they just moved to Croatan Island, which was nearby. So White planned on searching the island the next day, but instead there was a strong storm coming in, so they left back for England. Now, it wasn't another 12 years later, in 1602, that Raleigh got a search expedition together to search Roanoke and Croatan Island for the missing colonists. But his ships made it to the Outer Banks, but because of a storm, didn't go any further, turned right back around and went straight back to England. Now, by the time that this expedition got back to England, Raleigh was actually arrested and charged for treason. So now we kind of have like a little bit of background on Roanoke. There is a site here that I would like you to go to, and I will actually go there in just a second. So this site provides clues that you will use to then try and create a theory about what really might have happened. And so there's 5 clues that you'll read to formulate your theory. And then there's also a few other tabs that you're obviously more than able to read those. There's a background, some more to know, more to read. There is another theory tab, which I would really recommend you not to click until after you've created your own, because that just kind of ruins the fun. So we're just going to go to that site here. Here we go. And so I'll just briefly go over the clues. And you can read it more in depth. The first clue just talks about the CRO that's engraved into the tree. The second clue, slow internet, sorry, goes into how the buildings and everything weren't there anymore. The third clue talks about, oh, I didn't mention this, I'm sorry. In 1620, 30 years after it happened, Jamestown settlers actually did go down to Roanoke to find out what might have happened. So this clue kind of goes over that. The fourth clue kind of brings in a theory about how people have seen white Native Americans that spoke English in and around the area. Excuse me. And the fifth clue talks about the Dare Stone, which was apparently written by Eleanor Dare, the daughter of John White. So just go through these clues and really kind of read in depth, and then try to formulate a theory about what you think could have happened. Okay? So have fun.